My mom died this morning. I have nowhere to go," the black girl told the millionaire. The marble floors gleamed under the golden light of the chandeliers, their brilliance casting long reflections that made the grand lobby look even larger than it was. The air smelled faintly of polished wood and expensive cologne. A place where perfection was expected and mistakes had no place to hide. In the middle of all that beauty stood a little black girl no older than 9. Her hair neatly tied in 2 small braids, wearing a perfectly pressed black and white maid's uniform. In her small hands, she clutched the handle of a silver bucket so tightly her knuckles turned pale. She hadn't been called over. She had approached the man herself. The man in the immaculate black suit, white shirt, and satin tie. The man who owned this mansion and everything in it. The man who never noticed her before. He bent slightly, lowering his head so his cold, questioning eyes met hers. "Well, what is it?" he asked, his voice low, but carrying that sharp edge of impatience she'd heard from him when speaking to the staff. She hesitated, her eyes darting around the room as if looking for courage hidden in the corners. Then in a voice barely above a whisper, she said, "My mom died this morning. I have nowhere to go." The words fell into the air like stones into still water, breaking the invisible calm that hung in the lobby. For a moment he simply blinked at her. Surely he'd misheard. This was a child, a maid's daughter, holding a bucket and talking about death in the middle of the most opulent hallway in the house. But the way her lips trembled, the way her voice cracked on the last word, there was no mistaking the truth. He straightened up slowly, looking down at her with something halfway between confusion and discomfort. "Where is your—" He stopped himself. He already knew. Her mother had worked here for years. A quiet woman, efficient, never complained. He'd heard she was sick. He didn't realize it was this bad. Around them, the mansion carried on as if nothing had happened. Crystal chandeliers sparkled. Somewhere upstairs, soft music played from one of the guest rooms. The world didn't stop because a little girl had just lost her entire family. The girl's eyes stayed on the floor. Her grip on the bucket tightened as if letting it go would mean falling apart completely. She didn't cry. Not yet. She couldn't. Not here. Not now. Not when she still wasn't sure if she'd even be allowed to stay the night. "You should speak to the head housekeeper," he said at last, his tone clipped. He didn't mean to sound harsh, but empathy was not a language he spoke fluently. "I did," she murmured. Her voice was so soft he had to lean closer to hear it. She said, "Without my mom here, I can't stay. I don't have anywhere else." Her eyes finally lifted to meet his, and for the first time he saw them clearly, deep brown, glossy with unshed tears, holding the kind of sadness that didn't belong in a child's face. It was the look of someone who had learned too early that life could take everything from you and not give it back. He opened his mouth to respond, but no words came. He had spent his entire life making quick decisions, weighing risks, acting without hesitation. Yet here he was, staring at a little girl in a maid's uniform, completely unprepared for the weight of her reality. "Where did you sleep last night?" he asked finally. "In the laundry room," she said simply. It was warm there. A strange tightness settled in his chest. He glanced at her small hands gripping the bucket, at the scuffed shoes that didn't fit quite right, at the uniform clearly altered from an adult's to fit her tiny frame. This wasn't just a staff member's child. This was a girl holding her entire life together with sheer will. Somewhere behind him, footsteps echoed faintly, and he straightened, suddenly aware of how this might look. The master of the house bending down to a maid's child in the middle of the lobby. But even as that thought crossed his mind, another pushed harder. Why had no one told him? Why had no one cared enough to make sure she wasn't sleeping on a pile of towels in a laundry room? She looked down again, sensing his hesitation. Her voice was smaller this time, almost pleading. "I'll work. I can clean more. I won't be in the way. Just please don't send me away tonight." Something about the way she said tonight told him she wasn't thinking beyond that. For her, survival wasn't about weeks or months. It was about making it through until the next sunrise. For the first time in years, the millionaire felt the urge to say something kind, something human. But the words stuck in his throat. All he could do was stare at her, the noise of the world dimming around them, wondering why it felt like this little girl's fate now rested entirely in his hands. The chandelier's light glinted off the silver bucket, and for a moment, neither of them moved. The man's eyes stayed locked on hers, as if he were trying to read something buried deep beneath her brave facade. "Come with me," he said finally. His voice had lost its edge. It was quieter now, almost reluctant. She followed him through the marble corridors, her small shoes tapping softly on the polished floors. They passed portraits of long-dead ancestors in gilded frames, tall vases overflowing with fresh flowers, and doors that led to rooms she had never been allowed to enter. When they reached the grand study, he gestured toward a chair near the fireplace. "Sit," he said. The girl obeyed, setting her bucket down carefully at her feet as though afraid it might make a mess. She sat with her hands folded tightly in her lap, her back straight. He stood by the fireplace, staring at the flames as if they might offer him answers. "Your mother worked here for nearly 10 years, he said slowly. "She never once asked me for anything. Not once. She didn't like to bother people," the girl replied quietly. That hit him harder than he expected. In this house, he was used to people bothering him constantly, asking for raises, favors, connections. Her mother had done her job in silence, and now her daughter was here trying to do the same. He moved to the large mahogany desk, opened a drawer, and pulled out a small velvet pouch. Inside were keys. He held them in his hand for a moment before walking back to her. "These are for the guest suite on the 3rd floor, he said. "It's yours now, for as long as you need it." Her eyes widened, her lips parting as if she wanted to speak, but couldn't quite believe what she'd heard. "Mine?" He nodded. "You'll have a warm bed, your own bathroom, and meals sent up to you. No more laundry room." The words broke something inside her. She blinked rapidly, fighting the tears that finally spilled over. "Thank you," she whispered, her voice trembling. But he wasn't finished. "You'll also have someone looking out for you. I'll speak to the housekeeper. No one sends you away. Do you understand?" She nodded, clutching the keys like they were the most valuable thing in the world. For the next few days, the mansion adjusted around her presence. She still worked small tasks, dusting, polishing, helping in the kitchen. But now people noticed her. The chef made sure she ate proper meals. The gardener waved to her when she passed. The head housekeeper, while still stern, stopped glaring at her as if she were an intruder. One evening, as the millionaire was leaving for a business dinner, he passed the open door of the guest suite. The girl was sitting at a small desk reading a book under the warm glow of a lamp. Her bucket and rag were nowhere in sight. For the first time, she looked like what she truly was, a child. Something shifted inside him that night. He found himself thinking about her during his meeting, wondering if she had enough warm blankets, if she liked the food, if she was still afraid he might change his mind. Weeks passed. The girl began to smile more, though always shily. She still carried the sadness of losing her mother, but it no longer defined every step she took. She began to hum softly while she worked, a sound so gentle it almost didn't belong in a house that had always been so silent. Then came the winter storm. The city shut down under thick snow, and the mansion became a quiet island. That night she knocked on his study door. "Yes," he called. She stepped inside holding 2 mugs of hot cocoa. "I made these," she said. "One for you." He took it, surprised by the simple gesture. "Thank you." She hesitated before speaking again. "You didn't have to help me, but you did. My mom always said, people show who they really are when they think no one's watching." He stared at her for a moment, feeling the truth of her words sink in. He had built his life on business deals, wealth, and reputation. But in her eyes, none of that mattered. What mattered was that when she needed someone, he had chosen to be there. From that night on, she became more than just a staff member's child in his home. She became part of his life. Months later, at a charity gala he hosted, the girl stood beside him in a simple white dress, greeting guests with a polite smile. People whispered, wondering who she was. He didn't care about their speculation. "She's family," he said to anyone who asked, and he meant it. In a house once filled with nothing but grandeur and cold formality, there was now warmth because of a little girl in a maid's uniform who had walked up to a millionaire, whispered her tragedy, and unknowingly changed both of their lives forever. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button for more emotional, dramatic, and unexpected tales. And let us know in the comments, where in the world are you watching from? We love hearing from all of you. Until next time, stay kind, stay curious, and keep watching.